You know when you have some beer left over from the golf course because the sky opens up and pours down with rain and you can't let it go to waste because it's beer.
Right. All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2. Earnestly podcast coming to you. What's today's date? July 14, 2021. Kyle Nash, Big Jim, James Nies. 3 weeks later, back here again. What's up, fellas?
Are we just preparing ourselves for the weekly marathon that's going to be the NFL season this year?
Yeah, we're kind of like getting
back in pod shape,
stretching up a little bit, that kind of thing.
Training camp's coming up.
There is no off season, bitches. What's wrong with you guys?
No, this is the weird thing about this whole. Here's the weird thing about this year is that normally when the NBA finals are over and the draft's over for the NBA, you have like 3-4 week gap where there's really nothing going on outside baseball. You have that 1 week where there's nothing going. Like this week's supposed to be the All-Star game. There's really no sports for like 2-3 days. That's this week. Yeah. But because the NBA season got pushed, a month, month and a half further, started later, you have the finals right now. And as soon as the finals are over, whenever it's end this week or next week, you got training camp coming up. It's weird.
As a production note for you there, EJ, well, I love the fact you don't look like you're locked in some freaking FBI van, like on a stakeout or some shit. Like when you move your hands around,
you disappeared, man.
Has no idea what.
Undertaker.
Like, oh yes, right.
Yes.
Like you just straight up disappear.
I know my hands.
By the way, Paul Bear was the first WWE impression I ever managed to do successfully. So there you go.
I was impressed by that. That was good.
I was really impressed. And I don't impress easy.
I'm not even.
Yes, you do. Don't lie. Don't lie to your listeners. You impress very easily.
Yeah.
Why does he have to time, Jim? That's proof in the pudding.
Yeah. Where should we start first? All this ESPN drama going on the last couple of weeks. You have the Maria Taylor, Richard Eagles thing that happened a week and a half ago. The leak, the New York Times article that came out. Then you got the Stephen A. Smith bullshit. I
was going to say, which drama were you talking about? There's been multiple of them lately.
Dude, what's wrong with ESPN these days, man? God, they can't get their shit straight. They get the staff in order. What's going on?
That's a long list, isn't it?
Yeah.
And as a side note, I will reveal my bias early. What made me first inspired to become the student of the game back in 2013 is because I got sick of ESPN doing it wrong back then. Okay, ladies. I'm not saying everybody. There are people that are talented that do a good job. Unfortunately, I don't know that I'm in a position to say that's the majority. We live in a world where the professor John Clayton lost his job, but Mike Greenberg is still hosting his own show that gets about as much viewership as, I don't know, a barbershop quartet in Alaska. Okay. So, I don't know what made me come up with that analogy or that, but I'm going to stick with it. I feel like
it. I would assume it works,
but I say all that to say this, I'm just going to come right out and say it. I think a lot of people that went after Rachel Nichols, one of two things didn't happen. They either didn't listen to the audio or they missed the point of what you're supposed to catch from that. And what you allowed ESPN to do was villainize somebody who at this time, whenever was her hiring, I should say, was supposed to be a big deal because she was a female lead on a big name sports show, right? Which is with The Jump, more specifically, right? And
right.
Her a pariah because she called you out on your BS on how you're handling that very same alleged breaking of the glass ceiling that you were championing, because you became paranoid about the another SJW topic upon which you are doing rather poorly and have traditionally. I don't necessarily think Jameel Hill is the greatest sports mind, but she's a good social analyst, I feel like, and they screwed that up, and now she's off doing her own thing, probably making more money at this point.
Yeah, she's been doing very well.
And now they've created a situation where they look like they're scrambling to put a very talented Maria Taylor in place. And let's be clear, Rachel Nichols and Maria Taylor both are good at their jobs, right? They're certainly,
absolutely.
your Skip Baylesses or, what's another good example? Skip Bayless and
Skip
or Stephen A. matter, which we'll get to soon enough.
Yeah.
It's on top of that, they're just hemorrhaging cash, a lot of good talents being forced to leave. And you wonder why these other outlets are rising up and kicking your butt in many places. Oh yeah, they were actually good. That's why you hired them in the first place. So I don't know, in a place where it's handed to you on a silver platter, where a large portion of the demographic that also happens to fit into the demographic that needs more representation is also in your viewership, and you're still blowing it somehow, I got nothing for you.
It's like ESPN's problem is they always, instead of being proactive, they're always reactive. Like this situation happened with Rich Nichols and the hot mic happened over a year ago, or a year ago at least. This time last summer.
Well, the comments were made a year. The
right.
leak, nobody knew about them until they leaked 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago or whatever it was.
There was a slight leak, but they didn't get far apparently. But
but this time a year, that's the changing and shifting of the climate politically as well, right? On a dime, something that was deemed innocuous at the moment is now a big fat hairy deal. That's just the nature of the beast.
Well, a year ago we were focused on 100,000 new COVID cases every day and a presidential election and
no sports.
All this, little to no sports. You were starting to talk about, the NBA maybe starting back up in a bubble and the NHL starting back up in a bubble, and what's the NFL going to look like? So we had these outlier topics, but nobody was focused on sports a year ago.
I don't know. I would argue the lack of sport would have brought them to the forefront. But what do I know? I'm just taking a stab there.
Possibly. I think you hit the nail on the head really well, Kyle. And for me, the ESPN, I haven't watched ESPN for anything but live sports, or the lone exception was for one of their anniversary. It was a year and a half ago when Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann went back at a Sports Center. That's the only time I have watched anything on ESPN or listened to anything. I don't listen to ESPN radio. I don't watch ESPN anything unless it's live sports, college football, NFL. I just don't. I think the quality of the product, their product has gotten bad, and all the things they do, it's a trickle down effect, and it leads to a bad product.
The one thing I do still watch, Jim, is the Blitz, and that may stop too with TJ being replaced by Booger McFarland, the biggest dumbass.
I thought Booger did a good job on NFL Primetime last year, though.
Shut up! You're just.
I told you this last year, and you got mad at me.
What is wrong with you? How can you?
I thought he was decent last year. I thought he was.
God.
I think he just got mad at you again, EJ.
Oh, really? Where's your first clue? Look at this guy.
Side with that. See, this is proof you're not really a sports guy, EJ, and that's okay. You go do the Dan Le Batard show. There's a niche for that. Rock it.
What a fucking kick in the junk right there, buddy.
What? How was that a diss?
No, but the reason I said that though, because I do agree, Booger McFarland is not the greatest analyst in the world. I think primetime keeps him in a situation where he says what he says. There is not much for him to go outside. It keeps him in the box.
He still blows it.
No, I disagree with that.
Well, then you're not paying attention. All right,
okay. Go watch. It costs money. What can I tell you?
Podcasts. By the way, the only person that NPR called boring, who you used to be a fanboy of, okay? I'm just establishing for people that don't know your history of completely shitty props for awful analysts goes, okay?
Well, I wouldn't call Bill Simmons an analyst, though.
I talk all this shit. You are right about Bomani Jones. He's a bad man pajama right there. Yes. I ain't hesitate on that.
He's on Mount Rushmore for me personally.
And he should be.
Right. Real quick. Yeah. The one thing about the what was that?
But Booger McFarland, what?
No, I'm not a fan of his necessarily. I thought Primetime was the best platform for him in comparison to anything else.
Oh,
Better there than Monday Night Football.
the least bad there. I'll agree with that statement.
Yeah. I think the thing with the Rachel McAdams, Rachel Nichols, and
Yeah, well, his
my head's there right now.
You're watching Wedding Crashers before we
Yeah.
started here? Or?
Hey, yeah.
with that.
No, is that I feel like Rachel Nichols taking all the bullets here because while people are saying, "Oh, she's probably first of all, she's not racist." Stop. If your first move is to say, "Oh, racist," like you're doing it wrong. Number one, you're doing it wrong.
To the audio too. Let's get that clear. Which
Right.
You're right.
Because guess what? If X person was in her shoes and your job was being taken away because of you think that it could be because of a situation where I do with SJW, you feel the same way too, black or white. That's no racial connotation to it.
And thank you for adding that, EJ. I forgot to mention that in order to do what they were doing, they were outright violating Rachel Nichols' contract.
Yeah, right. And by the way, I am a big Maria Taylor fan. She's fantastic what she does.
Oh yeah.
But
she's great.
We're not having that conversation. Yeah, we're not having that conversation. We're talking about fairness and basically how you feel. Like that's a regular human emotion. The thing here is that ESPN is skating by because they can't get their shit right. They can't get their shit together. That's all it is. ESPN is the one that's really the biggest blame here. If you did blame pie, 80% of the blame goes to ESPN. Maybe 90% of the blame goes to ESPN.
Instead of having two fresh, delicious pizzas that they could have fed a lot more people and say, look, we're savvy and inclusive in all these different ways. You took one pizza and threw it under the bus so it got smashed, and now only half the people want to eat the other pizza because only one half of the people out there think it's credible. I don't know why I picked pizza, probably because I'm fat. But
it's pizza's great. I mean, and when you get thinking about it, it's hard to break. It's hard to break that,
Look at Big Jim's face smiling. Pizza's great.
I love pizza. What got me thinking about pizza? Yeah, I just had pizza 2 days ago. Yeah, you got me thinking about it.
Yeah, we'll do another podcast on top pizzas.
All right,
we have to.
I'm for that, but go ahead.
Yeah. What about Stephen A. Smith and his comments
on this one, Jim? Because I think I'm going to come out on a very strange angle.
Jim is not a big fan of Stephen A. Smith, obviously.
Yeah, look, it's a talking head thing. I've never been a Stephen A. Smith fan.
He beat
it's just like I don't know what part bothers me more about it. Like what he said, and like the fact that you can't, whether you mean it or not. I don't know Stephen A. Smith. I don't know if he meant it the way it came across. If he was trying to say something different and he word vomited all over himself. I don't know. But like in 2021, if you can't those words going from brain to mouth, if you can't put a break on that and start to change it, pause it. This is I didn't mean that, sort of a deal. You can't do that. That's a problem. And then the fact that there's no repercussion for him from ESPN. If it's random, Sports Center anchor that says something like that as they're on a discussion point, or a new, talking head on one of their numerous shows that I couldn't care less to know the name of, like that person is probably going to be reprimanded or put on timeout for the rest of the week or something. But Stephen A. Smith, he was probably back on the air this morning, and I know he probably issued an apology, which means
this morning, but yesterday he said they had him say tune into First Take to hear more elaboration, which means ratings, obviously.
Naturally,
yeah.
So like
ESPN,
he gets more ratings. He gets more play because of what he said, and. And I get the apology game. It's a PR guy probably writing the apology. It's not him, most likely not him apologizing. So like, I don't know what part of it bothers me more. Maybe it's just the fact that in 2021, after everything, you like the fact that you can't stop that from brain to mouth, or like in the moment go, whoa, whoop, that I didn't mean it that way. That like the whole thing, it's shitty. Like don't say it, and if you do say it and don't mean it, clarify it, or
Right.
if you meant it in that way, then there should be repercussion. I don't care who you are, but I get it. It's business. It's shitty. It's business.
So to the folks that don't know what he said, basically insinuating that, what was it? Basically that Showan Otani, basically it's hard to market someone
He
that
shouldn't
is
be
a
the
translator.
face of baseball because he speaks through an interpreter.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's not go too far off the rails, gentlemen.
Okay.
I don't think that's what he was trying to express at all. Using the words couldn't might be a bit much, and I think that's where, if he said that, that's where he screwed up.
Right.
I think he was trying to actually express is that there is a severe disadvantage, right? Like, listen, we're all pretty, what's his word? You know what? You know somebody who I feel like should have been a fantastic face of an organization and was for a good long period of time?
Me.
Cam Newton.
Oh, I was going to say that. I was just going to say Cam Newton.
Cam Newton was like the Dannon commercials were nothing amazing, but you were still drawn to it. Another guy was pretty good. I mean, to go Peyton Manning, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady are a similar level of quarterback, but one of them had personality in front of the camera and the other didn't. Okay. There's a reason why Tom Brady isn't going on SNL. Now, granted, it's probably because he's so awkward, because he is kind of a nerdy dude and he's a rat and he's grinding like that. Whereas Peyton Manning's retired because he would drink beer during the football season, unlike his counterpart. And that's to say that not one way isn't right versus another. I'm not trying to go, excuse me, I'm not trying to go that far. But, like, the thing he's technically correct about, this being Stephen A., is you are at a slight disadvantage if people need to communicate with you through an interpreter, through a medium, simply logistically speaking, off the ground. And there's really not a way to get around that. That's just the fact of the case. If you don't believe that, you are denying reality. And I think that's all he's pointing out, that baseball is in a rough state because you have a Japanese player that's your main thing, who pitches and hits with talent in ways we haven't seen since Babe Bleeding Ruth. Okay. And even I, as the non-baseball guy on this panel, acknowledge that, in the words of Joe Biden, when Obamacare was passed, that's a big fucking deal. Okay.
Yeah.
So
nice Joe Biden drop there, buddy.
And a great one at that, by the way.
Yeah.
But and in either case, nobody's wrong. I think, and here's what should have happened. I'm going to tie it all together with another reference, right? Both Rachel Nichols and Stephen A. Smith, if they executed properly, granted, I don't know how you execute properly in Rachel Nichols' case, where, it's a damn bit of subterfuge that gets something out in the world. But I ain't going to talk about all that. That's a whole other conversation. What I'm trying to say is this. At worst, you should have been channeling Falcon. He was still Falcon at the time that this line was uttered, by the way, rather than full-on Captain America. But the worst it should have been was he or she is out of line, but he or she is right. Okay? In both cases, that's the fact of the case. And yeah, it's proof that baseball is starting to struggle or become more of an international game. Maybe both is possible. I mean, the World Classic's more of a thing than it was. Baseball's in the Olympics. I mean, two things can be true at the same time. Stephen A. Smith's point was fundamentally not one of any sort of anger or exclusion. And what? You're going to suddenly try to tell me that Stephen A. Smith's the angry white guy. That's cute. So, I mean, get over yourself. I mean, this is how bad this point is.
I guess
in the awkward position of defending Stephen A. Smith, who's biggest disappointment. Like, you were good once. I look at him like Obi-Wan Kenobi. You were the chosen one. Then you started this full first take bullshit and being somebody who's more famous for yelling and being loud than being somebody who makes.
And that's the thing too with Steve Day. He was really good with Once Upon a Time. And by the way, if you take away all the entertainment factor of what they do there at ESPN now, obviously he's actually pretty good at his job. But
he's capable of being
his
good.
His job has changed now. They've changed the way they do business at ESPN now. They have for the last decade, honestly.
Sure.
So.
Like I forget the name of his TV show because it was on one of his catchphrases, and I'm kind of
new one.
No, his very first first feature TV show where it was just him.
Oh, I love that show. It was called shoot. I'll look up in a second. Go ahead.
But the punchline being, he had Alvin Iverson on there. The answer himself on his show said, "Hey, you're smart enough to be a GM. This ain't that guy no more, EJ." And that's the true tragedy here.
Hey. Yeah. But that's also ESPN problem. That's not necessarily. I don't think it's even ESPN's problem anymore. I think this is what ESPN wants me to do because here's the bottom line: he gets paid buku of dollars, is getting re-signed to buku dollars. So clearly they see something, they see numbers somewhere. They're not going to give this guy the kind of money he gets if they don't think they're making money off this guy. So something's working.
Here are your options: be a sellout or be Colin Cowherd and do it smartly. He chose sellout. I mean, who the hell am I to judge him for that? But at the end of the day, that made his content worse. If he's happy with that, I'm not going to be able to stop him. Like, what am I going to do? Go to his house? Ding dong. Stephen A. Stephen A. say it ain't so.
I'm trying to find the show.
I think you're right, Kyle. And that's why, like, when I say, I don't know, like, when I say I don't know his intent, it's because I don't know him personally. Am I sitting here saying that he intended to say this thing in the manner that the majority of people are spinning it with?
Right.
No, I don't truly believe that. But the way he said what he meant to say, and combined with the fact that, again, like, they'll be like, if somebody says something and goes, "Oh, I'd like," you should be able to know if something you say, when you say it, doesn't come across the way you want it to get across. You know what I mean?
Great. By the way,
like, it's self-awareness.
The show I was trying to cite was
quite frankly. Yep. I was going to say that.
It's self-awareness, and it's awareness of what you are saying. And if you can't have that, especially in a position that he's in, anybody that is going to get their words out to the masses, if you can't have, awareness enough to catch something like that's maybe more the problem for me.
Right.
It's the fact that you can't hear yourself say that and go, wait, like, let me clarify, let me rephrase, that maybe is the bigger issue with him and this statement.
But is that evidence that he is doing entertainment first then, right? Because he's trying to put a little bit of edge on there. He rubbed just a little bit too much funk on this one. That's all that happened.
Too much stank on it. A little bit too much stank. Sticking with ESPN. And I spoke this on the last episode I recorded. They released their top 10 quarterbacks rankings for 2021 according to ESPN. Okay. Now I spoke on this. I think they got it mostly right, not deadly accurate, but mostly right. Now you guys have not seen the entire top 10, right?
I think I just caught it and was able to write it down, but yes.
Okay. Kyle, you did not get the entire top 10, right?
Completely bleeding clueless. Yeah.
Okay. So should I go 10-1 or should I go 1-10? How do you want to do this?
Your show.
I would say start high.
My show.
Those are the ones they're least likely to screw up.
Because honestly, I think that
you could tell me you know where the biggest mistakes are, so we'll work.
Because honestly, I think the real conversation really starts at 6-10.
Okay.
Okay, so here's 1-10. Number 1, Pat Mahomes. No surprise there. Number 2, Aaron Rodgers. No surprise there.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, this guy. Number 3, my so-called mate, Tom Brady.
Okay, that's already fundamentally crushed. Just
okay. Okay. 4, Russell Wilson.
Okay.
5,
3, I have
Josh Allen.
Way too high.
6, Matthew Stafford.
Where the hell is Deshaun Watson right now?
I'm 7. 7 is Dak Prescott. That's Jim's boy.
Get the out of here.
Dakota. 8, Lamar Jackson.
L-Jack at 8. Come on.
That's what gets interesting.
Watson. Come on.
Number 9, Justin Herbert, who will, I think, be a top 5 quarterback in this year.
What's the criteria for this trash?
I don't know. Number 10, Kyler Murray.
Okay. So I shouldn't say before Kyle gets mad, because I think he's still mad from EJ giving flowers to Booger McFarland. So I think Kyle's still mad. But I'm taking this list because I didn't read it because I'm not paying for ESPN Plus. But I think maybe they're approaching the list as this is what they think the top 10 will look like during the season, or is this like the top 10 as they sit today? Do you know, EJ?
I think that they based on last year. Tom Brady had a fantastic year last year.
Yeah, Dak Prescott broke his foot off in week 3. This can't be like.
I think a lot of the argument on this list weighs heavy. I think first of all, I think the only reason you don't see Deshaun Watson on this list is because we're not even sure he's playing this year. Otherwise, he's top 10. Otherwise, he's definitely top 10 without question.
He's still active in NFL, and no, EJ, I respect that you're finding a way to defend another set of bad talents. This is what you do, and God bless you, sir.
Wait, who am I defending here?
Whoever on this damn list.
So I.
Okay, here's all right. This is the criteria, because you can read the first couple paragraphs before they try and take your money. We surveyed
the record because you keep doing this to EJ, and I know he's at least this smart. This fool isn't paying for ESPN Plus. It came with his Disney Plus membership. Okay? Let's be clear about that bullshit too. Side note, I get it free the same way, and I still don't read it. Moving on.
Okay. We surveyed more than 50 league executives, coaches, scouts, and players to help us stack the top 10 players at 11 different positions, from edge rusher to blah, 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 blah. The second edition of the rankings. Here's how the process worked. Voters gave their best 10 to 15 players at a position. Then we compiled the results and ranked the candidates based on number of top 10 votes, composite average, and interviews, research, and film study help from ESPN NFL analyst Matt Bowen. We had several ties, so we broke them by isolating the 2-man matchup with additional voting and follow-up calls. Each section is packed with the quotes and nuggets from blah, 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 blah. The objective is to identify the best players right now for 2021. This is not a 5-year projection or an achievement award. Who's the best today? Okay.
Again.
Okay, real quick. So, Kyle, you see the list now.
I do.
Listeners, listen to this podcast. You probably heard last episode. I gave out my criticism for the list, what I saw wrong. Didn't go through that again. Kyle, where did they got it wrong on this list?
So first of all, off the bat, crime number 1, Deshaun Watson. Like, I don't care what the situation is. A lot of us don't know what's going on with that situation. It's going to be my biggest challenge when I do write up my AFC South preview for the 3-point conversion when that comes out during training camp.
Well, that's happening, huh?
Yeah. Hey, what can I say? People like what I write, I guess. I don't know. Anyway,
I still miss Matchup Mania. It's the same.
Hey, listen. If the right situation comes along, it could come back, but it ain't gonna be this year, partner.
Damn.
Anyway, thank you for shouting that out too. The matchup.
You're welcome, buddy.
That took a lot of work, and not enough people appreciated it. Anyways,
I loved it.
Deshaun Watson not being on the list, regardless of what his issues are or may be. Like, to this day, we still don't even know if the charges are, air quotes, real, technically speaking. Right now, there's a corroboration of
legally speaking, there's still accusations, correct?
Correct. No charges yet.
Still proceedings.
Sure.
Yeah. Dude, they're lawsuits. That's all they are.
But they're civil and not criminal.
Right. Correct.
Okay. Right. That's the biggest
deal. And that's a matter.
So at day's end, this cat's playing.
Yep.
Like, if I were to say to you right now, point blank, at this point, top QB, potential free agent prospect in the NFL is? Don't answer. We already know you're going to say Watson. Okay. And by the way, I'm not talking about that computer on Jeopardy. Anyways, so I know how you feel about Tom Brady, EJ, and I'm not saying he shouldn't be on the top 10 at all. But third, get the entire hell out of yours, mine, and Jim's studio. You have
who's
right.
Third? Who's third then? Russell Wilson?
Easily.
Okay. So you know me, I'm the biggest Russell Wilson fan on the planet.
Wilson? Would you?
Huh? No. I think what weighed here, honestly, was that Russell Wilson did have like a 3-4 week area. I think the third quarter of the year where he did dip a little bit. That's why he's out of the top 3.
Yeah, you know what happened, right?
Explain.
More and more defensive players got injured. Their defense was already bad. O-line, which is already trash, sustained injuries, and both his receivers got nicked up.
It is an unfair argument because Tom Brady's a better team. Yeah.
No, the guy who should have been the 2019 MVP instead of the quarterback you put at number 8, was it? Jesus H. Christ. That's a whole other thing.
I didn't put it there. I think he should be higher.
Anyways, so then there's Josh Allen. He's at 5, way too high. Just fundamentally way too high.
Yeah,
okay.
I kind of.
Deshaun Watson, L. Jack, Russell Carrington Wilson, which in fairness he was already put there. Dak, I say this to you, Jim, as the resident Cowboy fan. If he's in your top 10, I ain't even mad, but he sure as hell ain't 6 or 7. I'm sorry.
I agree.
They put Dakota Prescott. By the way, there's a reason I'm not saying his middle name ahead of. I would know L. Jack's middle name, but I keep forgetting the damn thing.
Get there right now. Go ahead.
But listen, there's a reason why Patrick LaVon Mahomes II is number 1, why Aaron Charles Rodgers is 2, and that's the only 2 they got right. Like, quarterback lists are a thing you're supposed to nail at least the top 5, and you guys found a way to blow it this soon.
I mean, to be fair, you actually are saying Dak's middle name. Rain is his first name.
I see what you did then. Raymond.
Demetrius. Oh, wait, Lamar Jackson's middle name is Demetrius.
Oh, how do I forget that? It's so close to Demosthenes. It should remind me of Hilarity by Default, the other show I'm on, that you should definitely check out on YouTube and Hilarity by Default's YouTube channel.
Plug.
Cheap plug.
Hey, listen, no one's paying you. The plug have to be cheap, bitches. Anyways, no, but so let keep in mind, you just told me oh yeah. And then Kyler Murray and Justin Herbert made it. Gentlemen. Okay. You want to know what Deshaun Watson and those picks have in common? The jury should still be out in both of them. Are you kidding me right now? Stop it. Anyways, you have
Jim, go ahead and pick apart the list.
Well, okay. If I'm being presented with making this list, and they're saying for 2021, I'm not necessarily looking at it as who's the best sitting here in the middle of July. I'm probably approaching the list of who I think is gonna where they're at now plus how they're gonna perform this year. So maybe that's how this
that's tough.
How this list was attacked. And I mean, again, you're predicting on paper. So it's all theater of the mind and all that anyway. So if I'm sitting here, like, if I and I'm not saying that it's right, but if I'm sitting here, like, the reason Deshaun Watson's not in this top 10 is because there's probably a lot of people among those 50 that are going, even if he plays, I would say there's probably a really good chance he's not playing a full season. So that, like, just based on the where the suits are at, the accusations, all of that. So, like, they're probably sitting here going, there may be a good chance that these things, that something comes to fruition and he's going to get, if nothing else, a couple of game suspension for, what is it, the personal conduct policy.
Right.
In your defense, they do specifically mention that executives are part of the speech, right? So actually, some goofball could put winning the press conference as part of their criteria,
or that. So like, I'm not saying it's necessarily correct that Deshaun Watson's not a top 10 quarterback on this list, but I can see the justification of why some people would have left him out. Depending how they approach. And like, if he misses 2 games, he's probably still in the top 10. If he misses 6 games, I don't know if you know what I mean? I don't know if you can put a guy that only plays 10 in a top 10 list. So that's maybe where that's coming from. Do I think Dak's too high currently? Yeah, I do. I'll agree with that. Even being a Cowboy fan, do I think he has potential to be top 10, top 5? Look, his numbers in the very small sample he was at last year were nuts. Was that just because no one knew what to expect because there was no preseason with that offense? And he was just out there playing, just playing video game ball, just chucking it up and putting up unreal numbers. And because he had to score those numbers.
Yeah.
So is that sustainable for a full season? I don't know. Are they going to figure out him and McCarthy's offense with the Cowboys this year? I don't know. There's too many questions there. He could be top 10. He could be top 5. He could be 18th. I don't know.
That division will help.
It will. Certainly will. Jackson should be higher. Allen should be lower. I think Matthew Stafford has the potential in that offense
I think he's number 6 because they projected him to be great this year in LA.
Yeah, I think there's tons of potential there. Tons.
I think fans 8. A lot of people are overhyping the bejesus out of that. He's
what?
It's not that good. Stafford.
Well, I'm one of the biggest Stafford apologists out there because people are shitting on his ass.
I think it's because of the fact that he has a really good defense. He has. Obviously I'm not gonna say the best weapons he's ever had, because at least if you're talking the wide receiver position, that would be a stupid thing to say. But he has a plethora of weapons,
a better core.
Yes, he has an offense. He doesn't have a wide receiver. So I think that's where the Matthew Stafford hype is coming from. And,
right.
And I think it's a team and a coaching staff that we know can get to the big game. So there's no it's an upgrade from what they had before. And I think that team knows this guy doesn't have a ton of years. So if we're going to do it, let's buy in now and let's do it now. So I think there's potential there. Should he be 6th right now? I don't know. But yeah, Jackson should be higher. Wilson, I love Tom Brady, not as much as EJ, but I don't think Giselle loves Tom Brady as much as EJ loves Tom Brady.
Wow.
Business union.
Wilson should be higher. Wilson should be above Brady. Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. Isaac Bruce. Is he in the Hall of Fame now? He's in the Hall of Fame, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame.
Both of the members of the duo in question are Hall of Famers. Yes, sir.
So I don't know where this happened, but today came out that he was saying, quote, that him and Torrey Holt are the best wide receiver duo in NFL history over Chris Carter and Randy Moss. Now, the greatest show on turf was pretty fucking incredible.
Of course.
It was
the problem I have with his thing is his reasoning. He said because they won a title.
And that's asinine. You're right.
I agree.
It's always a lame argument. It's just
they do better.
A lame argument.
I'm not knocking them. They're probably top 3 or 4.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Anyways, go ahead, Patriots fan. Continue.
So it triggered me to. We're doing this podcast, obviously. I want to discuss who is, if it's not Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt, if you guys disagree with him, who is the greatest tandem of all time, in your opinion?
It's not that I'm prepared to say that I know who the best is. I can just name a bunch that are better.
Are there many better?
Well, for one, he says, let's just start with the Chris Carter and Randy Moss comparison. All right? Randy Moss is all-time talent. Y'all MFers are sleeping on Chris Carter. The only reason why Chris Carter isn't that getting the kind of press that Randy Moss is very simple. It's a very similar reason to why, I'll pull an example out of my house, Charles Barkley doesn't have more NBA titles. Chris Carter had only one issue with his career. He happened to be playing the same time as the actual GOAT of receivers and the player at his position, Jerry Rice. The facts of the case are those, and if you dispute them, you're just inherently wrong. I don't even argue with you. Like, that's where I'm setting the bar. Okay. So Chris Carter and Randy Moss are indubitably better than him. But by the way, was Robert Smith known for busting out and catching passes in the flat and doing amazing things downfield and that sort of thing? No, but Marshall Faulk sure as hell was. Anyways, I'll leave that at that. Oh, by the way, I don't think Dante Culpepper is crossing the Hall of Fame threshold anytime soon. Granted, he was actually the MVP in 2004 instead of Peyton Manning, where Peyton Manning was only better in 2 overall categories, and I believe that was attempts and touchdowns. Notice I said attempts and not completion percentage. And I didn't want to bring up running stats because asking Peyton Manning to run is like asking Tom Brady to run. Anyways, I mean, Tom Brady's more likely to run for political office than for yardage. Anyways,
wow. I said it.
But let's go ahead and move a little further. Would you take Bruce and Holt over Rice and Jonathan Taylor? Would you take Bruce and Holt over Rice and Terrell Owens?
No.
You just took my answer, by the way, Kyle.
Would you take Bruce and Holt over Rice and Tim Brown? Even in their twilight years? Who somehow made...
I might actually.
Damn.
I might actually.
And the only reason why you do that, EJ, is because the age they were when they played together.
That's it. That's the only reason I do it.
Right. I mean, you can't... In fairness to the question, we're not talking height of powers.
Oh no, certainly not.
Receiver tandem. We're talking about as we watched them do it.
Right.
Like,
argue you have height of powers with Rice and Terrell Owens, but okay, sure.
Oh, I won't necessarily dispute that one. I'm talking specifically to Rice and Brown, and I love me some Timmy Brown.
Of course.
Yeah.
We're at like 53 days, EJ.
We're still doing that?
It's going to be a damn beatdown. Like, Jim, if y'all manage to find a way to blow that game, I will be talking more trash on you.
God.
I make sure.
And I'll just have to sit and take it because it will all be warranted.
I'll make sure that my wife and I are on a date that night. So go ahead. Continue.
I mean, then that way you might actually have some sort of way to score as an FSU fan. Hi-yo!
Oh, damn. By the way, Kyle, you mentioned my number 1 tandem a little while ago.
Who's that, buddy?
John Taylor and Jerry Rice. John Taylor is grossly underrated.
Oh yeah,
it is disgusting.
Yeah.
Let me put you this way as a Giant fan, not Patriot fan. John Taylor scared me more than Jerry Rice did.
That's interesting. Why is that?
Yeah, I'm dead ass serious.
I'm not.
If you watch,
why?
If you watch the 1990 season when the Giants played the Niners twice, there was a game they played against the Niners week 13, week 12, where both teams are 10-1. Niners won 7-3. You know what scored the only touchdown in that game? John Taylor. Then they played an NFC title game where the Giants won with the Super Bowl. If I'm not mistaken, John Taylor scored the only touchdown in the game as well too. So,
well, this way,
the same.
It's the same way. It's the same way a Detroit Pistons fan is more scared of Scottie Pippen than Michael Jordan, because they were dominating Jordan until Pippen came in the room, because all the focus was on Mike.
Well, Jordan was still eating, but he was eating. He had to fucking really work to eat.
I'm telling you. Yeah,
right.
No, right. You know, but
that's my favorite tandem is Taylor and Rice. Very underrated.
Let me ask you this. Where would you put Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce compared to Plaxico Burress and Hines Ward?
No. I'm not gonna say knock Holt and Bruce. I think they're a top 5.
You're to knock them, but again, the fact that we have to stop and ask that question before we even get to Carter and Moss is just how asinine that is. And this to make it seem like that I'm a Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt hater. I mean, I could argue that their offense not producing enough is what made me have to deal with this BS that is your Patriots fandom. But that's a whole other question, right? To be honest, my really blame is Danny Thompson and his Falcons for blowing that Super Bowl, but that's a whole other question.
No, I think they're a top 5 tandem all time, but probably in the bottom 5.
Oh, top 5, probably fair. Yeah,
my number 1 hasn't even been said yet.
Oh, let me guess. Is it fucking Alvin Harper and Michael Irvin?
No.
They are good.
No, my number 1 is Wayne and Harrison.
See, I can't get behind that.
Really?
And maybe it's because, growing up, I was more college football based than NFL based. So I when I started watching the NFL more was in that window. So
go ahead. Yeah.
So that was the that was the tandem, the Colts, Peyton Manning just lighten up the score sheet. And I've never necessarily liked any of these. Like I've had this discussion on Huddle Up in the past. Like I've never liked the best ever argument because like when you look at decade to decade to decade in the NFL and any sport, the sports are so different decade to decade, era to era. Like if you want to break it down to when rules started changing, things like that. So like you talk about some of like the greatest quarterbacks of Unitas and Marino and guys like that. Like what would they have been able to do in today's era? Like what would guys who even in terms of the science of the game and the way that guys work out, and it's so hard.
Can you imagine if Deacon Jones worked out? Straight.
Oh my God, he'd been a top 10 player all time.
He already is.
Yeah. Probably is. Yeah.
I've always liked to present best arguments by eras as opposed to best ever. Like, and because I think that's the easier discussion to have, or actually not even necessarily easier I think that's the better discussion to have. Because people are gonna, like I did. This was the duo that I watched the most. So if you go by eras, you can at least study things. You look at things, and I think it's a better discussion to talk about. Okay, well, who's the greatest this of the offense era? Who's the greatest this of the defensive era of like the 70s? I think that's where the better discussions happen.
That makes perfect sense. It does.
Just claim dumb. They can't even get out of their own era on this show.
Yeah. You guys want to touch on Richard Sherman bullshit? Because I was, when the story dropped, I was at work and we were all talking about it, but I couldn't really respond to it. Haven't had a chance to really dive into it heavy. There's something about a hit and run also. Is that a separate incident?
Yeah, that's a separate incident. I mean, the two are linked, but where he was actually apprehended was in connection to the domestic violent burglary charge that Adam Schefter reported. Right
now, he was denied bail, but he hasn't been formally charged yet. How does that work?
So it's something with the procedure in Seattle court. And again, I'm going to say just the parts I know. There's more to it, right? But whatever it is, before he can be arrested, is my understanding. The more he can be arrested and formally charged, he's been arrested. Before he can be formally charged, there's somebody he's got to see on Thursday. There's the court that he has to appear before on Tuesday. And I don't know any more than that. What I will say is, though, the biggest issue that I see popping off, especially when it becomes a situation where the words domestic violence come up in connection with an NFL player, especially who, by the way, is the leadership and in the leadership of the NFLPA. I mean, this is where I interviewed Sherman years back. He was just a rep back then, but I think it was only year 2, year three in his career. He already had a ring by then. So that to say, like, he apparently has moved up in the NFLPA since then. Obviously, as to why, you hear about this and I start asking questions. I've met the dude. I know he may not be as smart as he thinks he is, ? but he's a sharp guy, period. And for stuff like this to go down, there's some other stuff we don't know about. And then as we're hearing more stuff come out from, I think like the 911 call was released. I haven't heard it yet, but
right.
The long and the short is the three things that stick with me that you have to know is this. For one, the domestic violence burglary charge did not involve what people normally think of with domestic violence, nor does it actually involve burglary. That's as the laws, as you probably know them in your state or from watching TV.
Okay.
Neither of those things happened. No one got hurt. Nothing was stolen. Let's be clear about that ish right off the bat.
And that's the thing also, nuance matters because you see people on social media. And you know how it is on social media. People just pop off and just assume the worst. And to me, you know my stance.
People just spout off on social media?
God damn it, Jim. Anyways, I don't even want to bring up your Tampa hate right now as an example.
Oh God.
Oh, look at the time. I gotta go.
We're still doing that shit a week later?
Wait. Look at Jim. He's going to bolt.
Oh! Boo!
Dude, you want to get Jim triggered? Just make a Tampa Bay Lightning compliment and it's over.
Boo.
You know what?
I'm over it. That was days ago.
I heard that Clay Travis said that the Tampa Bay Lightning are
Clay Travis. You know,
he doesn't understand it anyway. So
you know Clay Travis will be all over this story tomorrow.
Oh my God, I'm surprised he wasn't already. Yeah, I'm not a legal expert by any stretch of the imagination. There is a great thread. You retweeted this, EJ. I retweeted it. Drew Davenport from the Huddle Up podcast account. I retweeted as well. That explains to the common man a lot.
Okay, Dusty Rhodes.
You know, like, and I think that like that's the thing too, is when you start talking about legal things, any account that knows what they're talking about and can present the information in a way that's easier for people to understand. Like there's a great Facebook page that I've been following throughout the course of the entire pandemic. She is an epidemiologist and she explains things about the virus, the transmission, the vaccines, all of those things. She explains them because, you know, when you start getting into doctor words, my head starts to hurt, man. And like, if there's somebody that can make these things easier to digest for the common person, those people are doing the Lord's work.
Whatever.
Yeah, of course.
You know, so I know it's hard, social media world. I know it's a very, very difficult thing to do. Right. But before you hit those 200 and whatever characters they are now, take just even the slightest bit of time to just, because like that, the headline, man, that gets a lot of attention. Richard Sherman, domestic burglary, domestic violence. Hell, whoa.
I mean, listen, I'm going to put that on Adam Schefter for even putting that in the damn tweet, because he didn't know that when he did.
Yeah. I mean, Schefter is great at that. I mean, and it's the same day, obviously in a much different way, but like Adam Schefter said to 97.5 The Fanatic in Philadelphia that the Eagles are the most equipped to trade for Deshaun Watson.
What does that
even? The fuck does that even mean? Oh. Like, do they have the most capital that they could be like, that they could play with to get him? Sure, but like, because of where I live, I follow a lot of people who are Eagles fans and Eagles, like, and the number of people in the mid-afternoon today that were like, Deshaun Watson's going to be an Eagle. I'm like, you don't even fucking understand what was just said, do you? Like, all you saw were the words Deshaun Watson and Eagles in a fucking tweet and went, we're gonna have the good quarterback now. Like, that's not what he said, man. Like, the Fanatic loves to do that shit. Like, they might
the worst, dude.
Like, I call them like PMZ because they're like Philadelphia Sports TMZ. It's fucking like the Philadelphia sports media, and I only have a mild view of it because I don't follow it.
Don't let your boy Matt hear this shit.
Right, like, dude, like my guy Matt on Huddle Up and 3 Count, like, he hates Philly sports media because
does he really? Okay.
Oh, it's horrible. It is horrible. So, like, but Schefter, I mean, fucking just stop. Like, stop it. I'm going to fucking break my pen in my hand. I got to put it down. I love this pen.
You're okay. Calm down.
I'm mad. I'm Booger McFarland Kyle mad right now.
Jesus Lord.
Schefter has a little more credibility than that. Holy shit.
Yeah, I have to agree. Go ahead.
Man, here's the bow I'll put on it. If anybody wants to have that conversation about how we need to handle mental health and things like that, if a dude like Richard Sherman, who's on all cylinders and is a leader and all of that, and this is happening, something's up, gentlemen.
Yeah. And we'll wait, let the investigation play out and get more information before we dive into this thing. Last thing before let you go. The Olympics is a few weeks away. You guys excited about it?
Here's I will preface this by saying I don't think these games should be happening.
Correct.
Or if they are happening, I was talking with a friend of mine over the weekend. We had lunch with him. We got talking about it. Like, these games, at the very least, should probably be happening somewhere in the U.S. because we've at least handled the pandemic better. But they shouldn't be happening. They're happening in a country who is under a state of emergency because of the pandemic. There is no spectators because of it. The athletes don't get to, have the normal socialization amongst themselves, really, that they normally do. Like, I get it. You want these games to happen, but sometimes there's extenuating circumstances. So, with that said, my excitement level sitting here on July 14th is like 2. But like, come, what is it, the 23rd, when the ceremonies start and the games actually start happening, I'm going to watch them. I watch the Olympics when they're on. Like, I have NBC and Peacock on all my devices. Thank you, Comcast, for the free Peacock. So I will be watching them, especially things that I enjoy. I always get into swimming stuff. I just find it fascinating. Golf, because I'm a golfer, so I enjoy to watch golf. There's other events, but I will be watching. I will be excited once they start because I enjoy the Olympics. But sitting here today, like, I almost put it at like the level, because like last year before sports resumed, I wasn't excited about them starting because I'm like, I don't think they should be starting yet.
Mm-hmm.
And once they did, it was a way to escape. And obviously now things are a little bit different, but I'm going to enjoy watching them once they begin.
And there's another outbreak in Japan too on top of that. So,
yeah.
No more crowds.
Yeah, shouldn't be happening, but I will.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, no, certainly not for often. Like, if it were me, my attitude would be, listen, folks, just play the summer and the winter at the same time in 22, like you used to do back when it was 4-year, and then put it back on cycle in 24. That's
I agree.
I agree. The fact that this Olympics doesn't have curling and hockey already makes it less interesting for me. And I think they're adding baseball again. The interest level. Golf is an
Don't let Antoine Staley hear you say that, bud.
Man, listen, Antoine Staley has come to accept my baseball hate because I got him credentials to the Baseball Hall of Fame that he couldn't end up having to make it to because he had a family issue. Okay, Antoine Staley I get a pass from Antoine Staley on that. Damn it.
Okay.
So he used to be my boss, so there's that.
That's true. That's very true.
Way better than the boss that came after, but we won't disparage anybody too much. Anyways. What? Anyways.
Heyo.
Y'all ain't heard of them. That's okay. It's fine.
Nor do I care.
I didn't think you would, nor should you. But anyways, so to Jim's point, when they're on, I'm going to watch them in some fashion, right? Yeah. I am very interested to see what the international community does in basketball with the U.S. essentially out of the way thanks to the NBA bubble and that whole situation. I am genuinely enthused. I mean, I really do. Danny Thompson could probably do a better job on this, and we've kind of talked about it loosely, but I think it'll come up again, especially on Thursday on Beyond the Buzzer. Yep, another one of those cheap ones, Jim.
Cheap plug.
And by the way,
That's all right. I threw my huddle up in there.
Hey, and you know what? I deserve more cheap plugs because I actually eat crinkle fries. Anyways, so that's right. You can tell Ryan has said that too.
Oh, I will.
Arby's yet?
What's that?
Did you get him to Arby's yet for the crinkle fries?
No, because he's a stick in the mud, man. He's the worst. He's just the worst.
Okay, then his stick in the mud will remain immobile and an easy target for me to talk.
I'll duct tape him to a chair and I'll force feed him curlies or crinkles.
No, but because if he
bitch.
That's a great vision, by the way.
Right.
Talk trash, and that's not acceptable. I need that target. Don't say a thing. Anyway. But I'm going to be interested in basketball, and it's going to be on. And like, gentlemen, we all, if we're not interested ourselves, stereotypes say we all have a significant other in our life who's going to watch gymnastics, and that'll get us involved too. And listen, we've already witnessed the phenomenon that is Simone Biles. Don't you want more? Yes,
She's
please.
amazing. She's incredible.
100%.
So, from that extent, yeah, look at some interest. I'm going to watch them while they're on.
Yeah, me too.
If they're playing on Sunday, you're shit out of luck. But, beyond that, during the week, there will be times where I will watch it. It'll beat the shit out of work. I'm kidding. Whatever.
Yeah. All right, on that note, let's close it up. I gotta get out. I get to my wife. Quickly, plugs. Kyle, go.
Oh, that's right. You got to let the celebrity go last. Of course, I'm Kyle Nash.
That's right.
You'll find me on Twitter at the SOTG. Find me on Instagram is the same, the SOTG. You'll actually see some photos there. I've been covering the Orlando Predators arena football team. There is still the NAL. They are still playing arena football, so that's fun. Got their third win this past week. Very fun times all the way around. Good to see that going. Good to be back in the jungle, as they say. Of course, also find me on Facebook as the Student of the Game. Check out my writings with the 3-point conversion. That's the number 3, not the word 3.com. And my work with oldschool101.com on the Captain Company morning show. That's where I get to the Orlando Predators. And also Hilarity by Default on YouTube. Yes, on YouTube, where if you need a podcast, just play the damn thing and listen to the volume. Jim.
I love it. I love it. I had, by the way, I had the spicy chicken today from Burger King again. So good.
I wish you hadn't.
Did you poop yet?
So good. No, but I'm dreading it. And the fresh piping hot onion rings. But you can find me at Big Jim Sports on the Twitter. You can also check out my shows 3 Count Thursday each and every Thursday night. We had a familiar guest. You might recognize him last week if you go to any of our channels and check that out. 3 Count Thursday, always the number 3 as well.
What was that?
I said, you may not recognize him right now. He's hiding the gap in his teeth behind his mic screen.
3 Count Thursday. Tomorrow night, obviously going to be a big show. 2 big pay-per-views this weekend. WWE back on the road starting this week. So plenty to talk about. Plenty of excitement in the world of wrestling. You can also check out Huddle Up Podcast. I did put out a kind of midsummer update the other week. We will be back soon with weekly shows for football season as that is beginning to gear up. But again, you can find both of those shows on all pod catchers and Big Jim Sports on Twitter. Always a pleasure, gentlemen.
Hey, by the way, Jim, 2 things. A, the Chick King sandwich is fine. You're right. But B, it's not the Popeye chicken sandwich.
I know. And again, the one is bad. The one Popeyes near me is bad. There's a second one coming soon. Should be around this fall. I'm going to get there before it gets real nasty there.
I'm making reason. And the other thing, too, if you want a guest on Huddle Up that doesn't look like they're coming from an FBI interrogation room, give me a call.
Will do.
I took care of the background today. What are you talking about? Get out of here. Anyway, I got to go run. We'll talk soon. Guys, great pod as always.
All right, see ya.
All right, guys, take care.